Hello folks, Jonathan Milam here today with a Conn Constellation. This is the 28A, and I believe you'll be able to see that. That is the designation that this is a Constellation Cornet, even though it looks like a trumpet. One interesting thing, I believe if you can read there, it'll say Conn Constellation in a script, and then underneath it in straight letters, Elkhart, Indiana. I'm told that they did not produce any of these once they left Elkhart. So if you get one, you know that it is a Elkhart Conn. Another interesting thing, it's older than me, which means almost as old as dirt. This one was made in '58. So we're looking at, well, what would we have? 58, 2008 would be 50. 2018 would be 60, almost 65 years old, 64, something like that. Very interesting, extremely good condition. I don't think there is a ding on this horn. Of course, these horns were very interesting. They did not use sheet metal. They used they spun the brass onto this, if my understanding is correct. Some of them had a copper bell. I believe this was just brass overlaid with nickel. But at any rate, very, very interesting. They're different. They set the world on their ear and really took over. Before long, Olds was making a nickel-plated horn as well, just trying to keep up with the stir that this caused. Of course, a lot of the great jazz guys played the Constellation trumpets. The thing about this one is, so it's a long cornet model, and although it is a cornet, it is said to have a lot more diversity in tone than the trumpet does. It's true. A lot of diversity in tone. Now I'm going to use a mouthpiece I just got. I've used them on the trumpet for a long time, but this is a Reeves 41M. Relatively shallow, not a screech, but great mouthpiece, very crisp sound, and I think you'll agree, boy, that does sound like a trumpet. But then we'll take a couple of three mouthpieces and go into the deeper, and eventually we'll wind up with a Curry Vintage Cornet, which will give us, for those of you that like the Cornet, breathy, big timbre, you'll certainly get that out of it. But you'll see the diversity of tone that this Conn Constellation 28A is able to produce. I'm gonna just fiddle around with the old, I've got a mule, her name is Sal. Now we mentioned it's got potential to sound very much like a trumpet. I don't play cornet a lot. It does have a little tighter receiver area, but we'll see what we can do as we try and get it up into an upper register. It feels like it would be able to blow the wall back, honestly. It's just got that feel to it. Big 5 1/8 inch bell and a small start, so it's not taxing, but we'll see if we don't overblow it, what we can do range-wise in the upper register. Relatively easy, D above high C. Great mouthpiece too, like that Reeves. Now this is one that I used on the trumpet forever. It was my mouthpiece for a few years. It's a Reeves 41C, little deeper cup, slightly larger throat or back bore as well, drill size. Nice, nice piece. Great horn. Great horn. Now, I shouldn't do this because if I use a bunch of different rims, my lip gets shot pretty quickly. This is an old Bach. In fact, it's a Mount Vernon, but it's a straight 7, not a 7C. So it's a deep cup, and I believe it is a slightly larger drill size as well. But we're moving on our way to the vintage cornet sound with this kind of a deep V-ish mouthpiece and a slightly larger drill size as well. Really, such a interesting horn. A long time since I've had a Constellation. Okay, this is the Curry Vintage Cornet. I believe it's about a 19 drill. So quite a deep V, slightly modified V, but quite a deep V. Then a large throat, and it does tend to give an airy sound. Some people have said, boy, that sounded like it was leaking. That's what they're going for. A lot of people feel that that was what the old cornet was tone-wise. But at any rate, we'll give it a shot here. Isn't that neat? A lot of diversity from one horn. So they've got here the old Conn Constellation. Oh, I should mention, these had the first trigger and then, of course, the third slide. And I don't believe, even though you can see nickel plate, so it looks like silver, but it is nickel plated. This is not gold. I believe that's just lacquered brass, is my understanding. Same with the trim here. This particular horn, tremendous compression. That's the third and the first trigger. Nice condition, and such a pleasure to have something just a little bit older than me. In fact, I'm 61, so 63, 64 years, almost 65 years old, and in such good shape. Hope you've enjoyed it. Appreciate the thumbs up. Love to have you subscribe. I think I've got about 290 videos and several more to make. I've got some nice horns in at the moment. So keep in touch. As always, love the comments, your experience with Constellations. Thanks so much for dropping by. Have a great day.